Hello, so this is my follow-up review to my initial HTC One M8 review. Um, Still really loving this phone. Some people had asked to see some more functionality of it, so I'm going to demo a little bit more. So one of the functionalities that people were curious about was the FM radio application. It does come loaded with an FM radio application. It works really well. It lets you set preset favorites, which is nice. You do have to have a corded headset in it for it to act as the antenna. Um, so, that's pretty typical for an FM radio application in a phone. Um, but I have used it a little bit, and it is overall very enjoyable. It works just as intended. Um, some of the other cool features that I found about this phone and really been enjoying the usage of are things like the DataSense application. The DataSense application allows you to set preset limits to your device and when your plan resets if you're not on unlimited data. Um, so that is a pretty cool application, and it works really accurate, except for the Wi-Fi. So as you can see here, it's showing that I've only used 1.93 gigabytes of data on Wi-Fi, which I know is a lot to use from a mobile device, but it does seem a little inaccurate, partially because I've been doing some testing with the camera application, and more particularly the FHD video camera. So those videos are typically a very high data rate. For those that don't know what the FHD camera is, I'm going to show you an example here. So if you're into the camera application, which looks like this, all you got to do is select video. And then at that point, there's going to be these three little dots in the top corner here, okay? You're going to select that. And then the camera application, you're given three options. First one is slow motion. Now, slow motion camera is great. I put a demonstration video of it up earlier, but one thing you'll notice is it lacks any kind of sound. That's because in slow motion video there is no sound because the audio would be completely distorted and useless. Now, I realized that the demonstration I showed of the full slow motion video wasn't necessarily the best. It was of my cat Leroy. He's pretty slow motion by nature, but hey, it was a quick demonstration to show what it's capable of. The camera, though, that I'm really impressed with is this. It's the FHD camera. So what the FHD camera is it's a full 60 frame a second HD video. So for those that don't know what that exactly means, that means that you're seeing 60 frames of motion. So it's simple motion like this, where you're starting to see some distortion in the hand movements. With full HD 60 frame a second, you wouldn't see any kind of distortion. Okay. The problem with that is it uses a ton of data to make a very simple video. So when you go to take a video with that and you're going to email it or you're going to send it to somebody, it's going to compress that data, and then on the other side it should uncompress, but it doesn't uncompress to its full capacity from what I've seen. The way we tested it is I shot some video of some cutscenes from Final Fantasy X HD on the PlayStation Vita, and the video looked great on the phone. Looked beautiful. One thing that I've always had an issue with is when people video record a screen and it comes out looking all weird and compressed, or like grainy. With the 60 frame a second video, I wasn't getting any of that distortion. But what I have noticed with it after the fact is in emailing that to other people, it did lose a ton of the compression ratios, meaning that things looked a little strange. From the device itself, it looks just fine. I'm going to try and show a demonstration here. I don't know if it's going to necessarily come across looking the way that it should, but if we could take a look here, it'll go through a load up screen. Actually, let me just fast forward it a little bit to a scene and we'll go from there. But what I found is, and even there you can probably see it's probably going to come across looking pixelated. So the way that we know that this has issues with the Wi-Fi, like how that's not reading correctly, is I shot a 5-minute video of the full HD and it came out to a certain size. So I took that size and I emailed it to myself through my Wi-Fi network, and I noticed that the application never registered it fully. So it shrunk it down even more. All in all, it was about 0.7 gigs off of what it should be. So is that an issue? No, because it's on Wi-Fi, so that doesn't count against your carrier plan. The problem with that could be is if you're actually using your carrier's data plan to do that with. So be cautious when using the FHD. I do recommend using the micro SD card slot or just taking it off the phone onto your computer, because then you're not going to lose that compression, and it's going to look really beautiful and clear and uncut. So the FHD camera application is really great, but just kind of be aware how to use it the right way if you're wanting that beautiful crystal clear video that it's capable of shooting. Some people in the comments had asked about the store and application usage, and I'll be the first to admit I'm not a heavy application user. I only use a few apps. On my iPhone, I used maybe 7 to 10 applications total, but I was able to find all of them through the Windows Store. So when you load up the Windows Store, it looks like this. They're going to give you some recommended applications, and then you've got your columns that you can choose from. So we're going to go into the top free apps, and we're going to take a look. And as you can see, there's a ton of applications in there. Now, I did see one that is rather interesting because it's one of the most bizarre things that I found with this phone. Uploading video from this phone to YouTube is impossible. Okay? There is no native upload application, which is a little strange. There's a few out there that I found that claim they can do it, although I haven't had them be able to work yet, which is a little strange. The first one being an application called TubePro, but it does not allow uncompressed video to be uploaded directly to YouTube. So a little strange. Still trying to figure out some workarounds for that. But overall, I'm really enjoying that application or the camera application. Even though I can't put the video straight to here, I have to kind of more or less find a third route, which is either through the micro SD card slot, which is up here on the top, or through sending the phone out. Now, I haven't installed a micro SD card yet. I'm going to, but I just haven't gotten around to it. But that is something that I plan to do and see if the video still comes out looking great. Some people had asked about applications that I use on here. One of the coolest things I think that this has is the map application. The map application is not Google Maps, okay? But if you're like me and you live in kind of a rural area, it's actually a lot better. Where I live, I found that Google Maps isn't always necessarily the most accurate between streets changing from one direction to another or new roads being added. Now, the application for the maps, when you first upload it, you have to go through and download the application. And sorry, I'm just trying to get it in frame. So that's what the map looks like. But you have to go through and you have to tell it what maps you want. So you have to say what continent you want. So for me, I had to say North America, and then Indiana, and then there was a third step in there, like for Northern Indiana, which was kind of weird. But again, I don't really see it as a problem. One of the other more interesting applications on here is the battery saver application. So the battery saver application, when you open it up, looks like this. Okay, it shows you which applications are using the most amount of your battery. Now, this, from what I can tell, does not reset. Okay, so that could be a little interesting. The battery saver application looks like this when you open up the settings menu. It tells you a percentage of your battery life, how much time you have until it's fully depleted, which for me, it's at 18 hours with 72% left. Now, I find this to be pretty accurate. I've had applications on phones before that were never really that accurate. And it'll also tell you the time since your last full charge. The last time I took this off the charger and was full was 4 hours ago. So 4 hours and roughly 28%, so it's pretty accurate to the depletion time when you do the math. One of the other things that you could do with it is you can set up the rules for the battery saving application, which is nice. So you can tell it to save only when the battery is low, until it's charged next, or all the time. But what I found is when you turn it to all the time, it's going to limit things like location-based services, background data syncs, it really hampers my Outlook account. Okay, so I have an Outlook Exchange account, and every time I use the always on, it does absolutely zero synchronization. I'm guessing that is a preset rule in the phone. So overall, those are the things that I'm still really loving on the phone. Um, I'm still getting used to some of the more interesting things on it, um, like the HTC Sense TV app. The weather application is kind of nice because it sits on the home screen. As you can see, it's a beautiful 63 degrees outside right now in Elkhart, Indiana, um, which is great. And it kind of gives you a rotating tile that tells you a future day, or sorry, not a future day, tells you a forecast so that you can see the next couple days. One of the other great applications that I found on it is Baconet, the Reddit application for the Microsoft Windows device. It will show you everything that you are interested in Reddit, and it lets you browse very easily without a whole lot of going through this window, going through that window. So, and it allows you to load up right to the topics that you want. Um, so, as you can see, I pulled up my favorite subreddit of 3D printing. And you can quickly upvote, you can quickly comment or read articles without any kind of load times whatsoever that I found. And that's partially due to the connection, partially due to the processor. So, the processor on here is still one of the most amazing things at how fast it actually operates. Um, I think it's a great use of the Windows core program to make full advantage use out of a processor. I don't notice it ever really getting super hot or acting funny. The processor keeps up with the operating system. And at the end of the day, with a mobile device, that's one of the most important things I think you can ask for with a processor. It doesn't do any good to put a super fast processor into a phone that's going to bog it down, or an underpowered processor. Okay? So with that, I'm going to end this video, and if you have any other questions or want to see things demonstrated on the phone, feel free to leave a comment, and I will put it up. Thanks.